did she go? Where did she go? I thought she quit. I thought she gave up. I know where she went. It's disgusting. I don't want to talk about it. No, it's too disgusting. Don't say it. It's disgusting. Let's not do it. We want to be very, very straight up, okay?
Donald Trump taking a little heat today from some critics, calling his words about Hillary Clinton vulgar. Trump's comments came as a reply to Clinton attacking him during the Democratic debate Saturday night. Trump has since demanded an apology. Clinton's campaign says, no, not going to happen. For much more on the battle of words between Hillary and the Donald, let's bring in today's roundtable. Today, we're joined by David Goodfriend, the former Deputy Staff Secretary to President Bill, and legal analyst Emily Compagno. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, so the new polling from Quinnipiac University says half of Americans would feel embarrassed if Donald Trump became the president of the United States. First to you, Emily, should Americans be embarrassed by Donald Trump?
Well, of course, everyone is entitled to their opinion. And if that's true that over 50% of Americans would be embarrassed, I think that's telling. But what also is telling is the fact that he continues to lead the polls despite this kind of release where apparently over 50% of us would be embarrassed. And I think this might be that kind of thing where oftentimes polls don't reflect the accuracy. What people say publicly, what people cop to in front of their friends or in front of when actually polled in the public really isn't going to be the case. So I actually think the only telling thing for us is going to be the polls, because the actual voter polls, because no poll until then I think will be accurate in really taking that pulse, frankly.
What do you think, David? Do you agree with Emily?
Well, if you look at those polls that Emily just mentioned, among Republican voters, Donald Trump draws a little under 40%, which means that's about 20% or less of the general voting population. So he might lead a plurality of Republican primary voters, but that is a far cry from a majority of the nation. And I think that's what the nationwide polling shows. It's that, yes, he might have some very enthusiastic supporters within the core of the Republican Party, but they represent a tiny minority of American voters nationwide. And as you recited from that poll, half of those voters would be embarrassed to see him become president. I think those two numbers are consistent with one another.
Well, the hits just keep coming from Trump during his campaign rally last night. Here's what he said about Clinton's 2008 campaign.
Everything that's been involved in Hillary has been losses. You take a look. Even a race to Obama. She was going to beat Obama. I don't know who'd be worse. I don't know. How does it get worse? But she was going to beat, she was favored to win, and she got...
Yeah, we bleeped that out for a reason. Some people are deciding to air it, but we didn't. Emily, some say that Trump's language, and you heard the earlier soundbite that we had where, you know, he says, I know where she won. It was disgusting, meaning that the time where she was a little late coming back to the debate. Some people have said that Trump's language is basically degrading towards women. What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think this is hitting below the belt?
Right, you can construe it as such, especially because the last time he used that word publicly was also in regards to a female. A lot of what he says is so inflammatory. A lot of it is directed towards women, so you could absolutely make that call. I think the best indicator would be if he's used it for a male. He hasn't. And I just think at this point, he has crossed that line from inflammatory to yeah, it is vulgar. And I think has gone so far beyond helping him and encouraging supporters and rallying in terms of this kind of blunt emotional drive. I think it's really, really going to hurt him, because to me, this was absolutely over the top. And especially in regard to Hillary Clinton's break, I just didn't see the need for it at all.
And we say that, though, David, and every time I feel like I'm asking you this question over and over again, because it seems like doesn't matter what he says, his numbers continue to go up. People love that about him, that he has no filter. Did he cross the line here, or is there still more to come? Will he ever reach that point?
Of course he crossed the line, but I have to go back to what I said earlier. You say people love what he said. The majority of Republicans don't like Donald Trump. The majority of Republicans, I said. You can look at the polling for this primary field and see that the majority of primary voters in the Republican Party want somebody else as the nominee. So let's not get too caught up in the so-called popularity of Donald Trump. I think that he does certainly appeal to a segment of the Republican base, but to the voters who support Bush, to the voters who support Rubio, to the voters who support Cruz or Kasich or Christie, Donald Trump is not their favorite. So let's not give him more credit than is due.
But you really think we're giving him too much credit? Because every poll, except for this latest national poll, he has been at the top, and these are Republican voters.
Well, look, you certainly can say, I will say, that Donald Trump's success reflects something I think very chilling about the modern Republican Party. I don't like it. Okay, but I want to be careful not to indict the entire Republican Party, because he only has a plurality, not a majority of Republican voters. See, I might not be a Republican, but I want a strong, healthy Republican Party that can appeal to the center, because only through competition can we have good elections in this country. If the Republican Party goes so far off the rails that it becomes so conservative it can't win a national election, I'm not sure that's a good thing for the country as a whole. So let's not overstate the appeal of Donald Trump. Yes, he appeals to a small plurality of Republicans, but not a majority of the Republican Party.
David and Emily, stick around because we still have much more to talk about after the break. Hillary Clinton has a new ad referring to GOP candidates as Grinches. You'll want to see that. That's coming up right after this.
American families like progress a lot, but the Grinches in GOPville, it seems they do not. Together they shout with great Grinchy zeal that on health care their plan is
repeal, 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 repeal.
That is the latest ad from Hillary Clinton called How the Republicans Steal Progress. The ad attacks Republicans on health care, immigration, and economics. And it's a great place to bring back our roundtable for Part 2. Rejoining us, David Goodfriend and Emily Compagno. Thanks so much for sticking around, guys. David, you get the first word this time. What do you make of Hillary's Susian? I'm not even sure if that's a word, but one of our producer, Chris, swears by it.
Susian, I like it.
Susian ad. So, you know, he's gonna, I hope you're right, Chris. Well, what do you think of the ad? Do you think it's effective?
I love the ad, and I think it uses humor and facts, and it uses culture, like, contemporary American culture. I think it's a great ad, and I think it really connects with people because the Republican Party under Reagan really learned how to take away the scowl of Richard Nixon and instead put the smile of Ronald Reagan on the party's policy. And it seems as though today's Republican Party has gone back to the scowl, kind of become the angry old man, and I don't think that's any way to win an election. So it's fair game. Hillary Clinton is simply pointing out that there's a lot of negativity, a lot of angry speech, a lot of wanting to take something away as opposed to give something more. And I think that's perfectly themed for Christmas and the Grinch and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I thought Ted Cruz, when I always think of Dr. Seuss, I'm sorry, but I always think of Ted Cruz. I don't know if she ripped off that idea from him. But Emily, I want to get you to weigh in on this. Do you think that the ad is fair to paint Republicans in that light?
I agree with David in that I think I see the humor in it, and I thought Cruz's ad was lighthearted and fun to an extent, and it was a little bit refreshing to see this kind of humanity and humor and capitalizing on that Saturday Night Live tenor as well as the Seussisms. Sure, but I also, how I feel personally is that it's a little soon, in my opinion, and it's a little raw for there to be such swipes being taken, because all I hear and all I feel everyone is hearing now is this jabbing back and forth without any type of progress made whatsoever. So if we weren't faced with a government shutdown every 5 seconds and a deadlocked house all the time, and feeling that we are so numb to there being this inability and refusal to really compromise and participate with each other between the two parties, I would take it with a little bit more humor. But I personally feel very fatigued, and that, going back to David's earlier point about having two robust and strong parties so that it fosters great competition, absolutely. But to me, both are so fractured, so broken, and it's such a kind of bleeding battlefield between the two. I mean, we have a president right now who consistently uses the Republican word as like pejorative. So I feel personally that there's way too much back and forth for this to be seen as only benign.
Okay. We're going to move on now because Christmas is upon us. Gifts will be exchanged all across the country. We want to give you guys, so we'd have a little fun with this. We are approaching the holidays. So we wanted to give you a chance to give a gift to a candidate. But it comes with one limitation. As of right now, major party players like Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan, and Liz Warren have yet to endorse a candidate. An endorsement from one of those probably would be a good gift to a candidate. So what gifts would you give today's candidates? Let's start with you, David.
Well, if you're asking me to endorse a candidate, surprise, surprise, I'm going to endorse my friend Hillary Clinton. I think she'll make a great president. If I had to ask for
but what endorsement do you think would help her? Would you give her the gift of Elizabeth Warren's endorsement, or would you give her something else? It doesn't necessarily have to be an endorsement.
Well, I actually think that it's a great question, and I think I'm looking past the primaries into the general election, to be honest with you. I don't think past the South Carolina primaries it's going to be any mystery that Hillary Clinton will be our nominee. And where I'd like to see her endorsements come from are from retired military personnel who've worked with her, both when she was Secretary of State and when she was First Lady. There are a lot of retired military personnel who know what she's got and trust her, and I'd love to see them come forward. I know them by name, and they know who they are. I'd love to see them come forward and endorse Hillary Clinton for president.
All right, Emily, what about you?
Okay, I'll play Santa. I'll give a few gifts. To Hillary Clinton, I would give her truth serum. To Donald Trump, I would give decorum. To Ted Cruz, I would give him a pulpit and say, this is for this particular time and place. And for the rest of the time, you know, speak to us as we were not your congregation. And then maybe the message would be delivered in terms of content, not delivery. Who else can I give gifts to? To Carly, I would give her a fair shot. To Carly, I would give everyone else a moment of silence to actually listen to her content, listen to her platform, and then make a decision. I think that she actually has faced the most criticism around kind of obfuscating her actual message this entire time.
Well,
I could go on forever. But
I know. Well, we appreciate it. Those were some good gift ideas. David Goodfriend and Emily Compagno, thank you both for giving us your time. We appreciate it.